Exploring the paranormal perspective. Paranormal perspective. Exploring the paranormal perspective.
You're supposed to say the lines.
Oh, is it? I gotta say that?
Yes.
Public service announcement. The views and opinions are the opinions.
Fuck that bullshit. They are my opinions and my guests, no one else's. Remember, this show ain't for chitlins' ears, so listening discretion and viewing discretion is advised. This is a paranormal horror crime show, so the scenes and the sounds could be a little terrifying to those little ears and those little eyeballs. And of course, there's obviously cussing. I mean, it's me. Also, please don't do anything that these stupid ass people do in this video or this podcast. This is for entertainment purposes and for you guys to listen with your ears, consume the knowledge. And now, time for the show.
Exploring the paranormal perspective.
What's up, everybody? It's Sean with the Paranormal Perspective. I have a wonderful guest with is what I first off, I want to thank you for being here. We've been chit chatting, but I want to thank you so much for coming on to my show. He was on the Amok mostly back and asked him to. So, just to go, John, you what can you
Over
share
50
with us?
years. Yes.
What first drew you?
Well, well, first of all, Shauna, thank you for having me here. I'm honored to be with you tonight. This is really great, and hi to all the listeners. What drew me to this path was it was just I had this old black ghost that came and opened up the portal to these ultimately way over 1,000 paranormal manifestations that I've experienced. And in so doing, he also opened up my psychic gift, my psychic abilities, and that all occurred around between the ages of 5 and 6. And I began to have these concrete, physical, paranormal experiences. And it wasn't just me that witnessed them. There were my parents witnessed them, my friends witnessed them. And so these were real things that were actually occurring on the physical realm. And being, 6 years old, I couldn't articulate the thought, but I knew intuitively that these things were extremely important and they were going to be important in my life. They were going to be important in other people's lives down the road. And so I began to study and try and figure out what was what. I read everything that I could. I studied everything I could. I practiced everything I could. And my guiding star, if you will, my North Star was what is real and what isn't, what's true and what's false, what works and what doesn't. And if it didn't work, if it was false, if it was just dogma or tradition or ritual that didn't produce anything, I tossed it out. And if I found out that something worked, I said, okay, how often does it work? Does it work sporadically? Does it work every time? How can I integrate this into my life? How can I help people with that? And then I began to do psychic readings for my family and friends, probably around the age of 15, maybe a little earlier. And then at the age of 18, I began to read professionally. And I've read professionally for over 50 years. I've read for clients in over 40 countries, which just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. And I helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world. Had all these wonderful paranormal experiences, still do. And I've written 4 multi-award winning books now that are in print, and another one's coming out this summer. More are on the way. So my life has been just constantly wrapped up with the spiritual realm, with the other side, with the paranormal, with my psychic gift. And it's something, like I say, it's helped enabled me to help a lot of people. It's helped me. And it's something I love. It's something I enjoy, and I can't imagine my life without it. And the greatest thing for me is to be able to, especially through my books, and my interviews is to communicate to people the reality of the other side and of psychic gifts and how they can develop that in their own lives for their benefit, and also to teach that the greatest thing we can learn out of all of this is compassion, love and compassion, concern for one another, and care for each other. And whatever else we can do, it doesn't matter if we don't have that care and compassion with it. So that's kind of the origin story in a nutshell.
So right about that. So sad to see
Yeah,
over
it does. It does.
phones. Just what happened to
Yeah,
try to help?
I know they would intervene and would do something. It was amazing, and it was so weird. I grew up in West Texas, and I was raised in the time that if I was walking in the grocery store and a woman was coming out balancing 2 sacks of groceries in her arms, I was raised to go over and take the sacks of groceries from her and go, let me walk these to your car. And she'd open the car up and I'd put them in for her. And thank you. Have a nice day. That's just the way I was raised. And as time went by, I saw that disintegrate to the point that, people always talked about New York and how New Yorkers would not get involved and wouldn't help people and all that. And they held that up as the beacon of, uh, you know, disrespect and lack of empathy and so on and so forth and non involvement. But there in West Texas, in the small town where I was raised, when I got up into my 30s, I had a post office box, and after work, I stopped there at the post office to check my mail in my post office box, and this elderly woman had fallen. She was on the sidewalk and had fallen through this hedge of bushes and was laying with her feet sticking out on the sidewalk, and the rest of her body was laying on the ground in this hedge of bushes and beyond. And
Why?
everybody, young and old, men and women, were stepping over her feet and just walking by and not even stopping to ask, "Ma'am, are you okay? Ma'am, what
What
happened?"
in
They
the
were just
world?
they were just stepping over her feet and walking on, and some of them barely even glanced. And I went over there and stopped, and I parted the shrubs and the bushes, and grabbed her and helped her up. Said, "Ma'am, you okay? Ma'am, you okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, yeah. I guess I fainted or whatever." And I helped her up and helped her to her car and everything. But everybody else just walked over her feet that were on the sidewalk,
Wow.
stretched out there, just stepped over them and went on. And nobody, not one person, stopped to help. And so
That
it's like,
is,
it is sad, and I think in some ways we've gotten worse since then, even.
oh, we
And
have.
so that's kind of one of the missions and the spiritual things that I do is trying to open up people's empathy and
Yeah.
compassion, concern, receptivity, and try and restore some of that.
But it needs to be restored. It was like the
It
one
does.
Marine that helped the one person on the subway.
Yeah,
Oh, it's you hear all these people talk about degrading the man, how he's this murderer and everything. Well, you he saved a whole bunch of people's lives that day.
exactly,
Not just
exactly.
one person, a lot of people's lives, and you gotta put that into
Right.
perspective. But
Yep.
anything anymore is just somebody saving somebody is just such a down thing. Don't help anybody.
Don't
No,
help anybody. Yeah.
help
Yeah.
your fellow man because if you help, you're gonna see that karma come back to you cold, and you're gonna see a whole bunch of good out of
Yeah.
helping people.
And maybe
And
somebody will be there to help you when you need it, because we all are going to need it at some point.
exactly, I have raised my boys. Open the door for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're male.
Yeah.
Open doors if you're there. Leave it up. Don't
That's
just
right.
slam it.
That's right. Yeah.
But I especially because I was raised in L.A., Lower Alabama. Especially open doors for women. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. Thank you. All
Right.
that I
Right.
grew up with. And then I live here in Oklahoma. The first time I said yes, ma'am to somebody, they said, "Don't call me ma'am." And I'm like,
I
I
know,
was
it's like
just being
they think
polite.
that you're calling them old, and
Right?
it's just a sign of respect.
It
And
is.
that's the way I was raised. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And you help people out. You open doors for people. You carry bags for people.
Yes.
You do that kind of thing. So, we need a return to that. And
Yes.
it really bothers me, this false consciousness that people have absorbed and collected, where a compliment is an insult
Right?
or manners is, well, what do you think? I'm too weak to do that for myself? No, it's just a sign of respect. It's just a way to show respect and to help and be compassionate. But we've gotten so crazy in the way that we view things, and you have to be careful complimenting people.
Right?
It's like, oh
You
my
go to
God.
somebody, "Oh, you have the prettiest eyes." What, are you hitting on me? No, I was just
Yeah.
saying you have pretty eyes. What the heck?
Officer, sexual assault, sexual harassment. Yeah, it's like,
Right?
yeah,
Oh my
it's just crazy.
god.
It's
It's
crazy.
so crazy. I was during training they were talking about what to say and what not to say in the place, and somebody had said
Yeah,
dang, like D-A-N-G, dang, not damn, dang.
right,
They're like, "Well, you got
right.
to watch yourself." Are you kidding me? Oh, no, 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 no. Why I'm too old to mess with that mess. I will be
Exactly.
polite enough not to cuss and say like shoot or dang or
Yeah,
something like that, but you're not
yeah.
gonna keep me dang.
I know, seriously. Yeah, it's just
Oh,
crazy.
it's getting
And I think
ridiculous.
the weird thing that bothers me as an author is that we have totally, completely lost reading comprehension. So somebody can read something and take something away from it that is so far removed from what it actually said, that it's
Right?
just, how in God's name did you even get that from that sentence?
Victim
It's
mentality. That's all I gotta say
yeah,
on that one.
yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. So,
Have
you know, I,
lost their
I love it when
damn
I get reviews.
minds.
Yeah, yeah. I love it when I get reviews from articulate, educated readers that understand what I'm saying. And
Yep.
you can tell that they do because the way they give the review and what they say. And it's like, oh, thank God there's still some out there, you know. But I
You
remember,
gotta find them anymore.
yeah, you got to find them anymore. I remember when I was in elementary school, we had reading comprehension,
Yeah.
and the teacher would say, "Okay, this is the author's what the author said. What did he mean?" And you had to
Yeah.
accurately, you know, okay, well, this sentence he means da 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 da, and all this. And boy, do we need to return to
Well,
that.
there are some schools that still do that. My daughter's school, for instance, still does
Yeah.
that. She
Oh,
has
wonderful.
a 8th grade reading level, and she fifth grade. She just graduated 5th grade.
Oh,
But
fantastic.
yeah, some schools still do it, but there are some
Yeah.
schools that take stuff like that out just to put in
Yeah.
something that's relevant to life and what you
And
really need.
people that can't read cursive or write cursive anymore. When we moved, one of the young kids that was helping the mover came up to me with a box and he said, "Where does this go? What does it say? I can't read cursive."
Ah,
And I was like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?"
right? Like
So the meme on Facebook is true. How to cripple an entire generation, write everything in
in
cursive,
cursive.
have analog clocks and manual transmissions,
Yep.
and the entire generation is crippled.
They're not gonna
It's
know what to do with themselves.
not gonna know what to do. Yep,
No.
absolutely.
My oldest son has a problem with now my daughter learned how to write cursive when she was younger. I know I'm bragging on. Sorry, I love my
No, that's
babies,
good. That's good.
but
That's
we taught her cursive when she was young because she's very artistic. Loved the way it looks, so she learned how to
yeah,
write cursive. And
right,
school is
right.
teaching them how to write cursive still. I mean, they took it out for a couple of years, then they brought it back because they're like,
Yeah,
no, we're not going to follow the norm. We're just going to do it.
right, right.
And so, but yeah, my oldest son can't read cursive because for those
Oh
years
wow.
that they were teaching cursive, they took it out, and that was
Yeah,
time to learn. So he has, I mean,
wow.
he can read some of it, but a lot of the time,
Yeah. Oh
like,
wow. Wow.
son, I could write everything in cursive, and if I die, you're not going to be able to read my will. You're going to have to give it to your little sister who is 10 years younger than you.
Right, right, exactly.
But
Oh
yeah,
man.
it's amazing how times change, how things go on. And
Yeah.
during the times that are changing, how do you, as a psychic, is anything in your world, or does it
Yeah.
continue on as it goes?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of both. I think that I see some continuances from when I was a kid and coming up in all of this and studying all of this. I think the disturbing thing for me is at this stage of the game, we should be having more openness and more
Right.
receptivity to psychic abilities and to the paranormal realm, the spiritual realm. And instead, there seems to be this great pushback where, you know, like as a psychic, I've been made fun of just
Oh my
horribly. I
God.
mean, just you know, just denounced and cursed and castigated and everything else. I've
Wow.
been called a fraud and a phony and a fake and
Oh my
a tool of
God.
Satan and Satan himself and the son of Satan. And he's so
Wow.
dumb.
Okay.
Yeah, he's so dumb and stupid that he's using the powers of Satan and doesn't even realize it. And he's consorting with demons and blah, blah, blah. Which, of course, you know,
Oh,
people that are Bible obsessed, they'll go
yeah.
that route. And I always get tickled because I'm an ordained minister. I was an associate pastor of a small church for a short while, and I know that Bible inside and out, forward and backward. I've read all three concordances, you know, Young, Strong's, and the other one comes to Credence, and
Yep.
you know, studied and studied and studied. So it always tickles me when people go that route. But even the ones that don't have a religious bias, they have this, you know, well, there's no proof, and of course, there's tons of proof. You know, the Stanford Research Institute proved psychic abilities and proved paranormal activity and so on and so forth. There's a mountain of evidence there. And there's other parapsychological associations, both abroad and here over the years, that have compiled uh, uh, scientific evidence for psychic abilities and for the paranormal. But it amazes me how people will choose to ignore the fact that that's out there, that it's available for research, that they can go and look it up themselves and learn from it. And that's one of the disturbing things I've seen of late is this resistance to anything spiritual. And it's really funny, Shauna. It's really there's this strange dichotomy because people will. I was on Chris Lato's show here a while back, and I was the very first psychic to ever appear on his show. He was
Wow.
he's a retired Air Force fighter pilot. He was a fighter pilot for 20 years, and he saw combat and everything else. And then, being a retired Air Force fighter pilot, he started this podcast to investigate UFOs because so many of his peers were coming forward that he knew were reliable and he knew were credible and were talking about UFOs. But I was the first psychic that he had on there. And I was discussing with him, I said, people will say, oh, UFOs? Yeah, okay. Uh, Possible portals to other dimensions? Yeah, okay. Bigfoot? Maybe. Psychics? Oh, hell no. Hell no. Ain't no damn psychics. Ain't no such thing as psychic ability. Get out of here with that. All them suckers are ponies and frauds. It's like, really? Really?
Oh.
That's where you draw the line? So it's like, no matter how you try and convince people, it doesn't work. It seldom works. And I got tired of playing the bear on the bicycle in the circus a long time ago. when, when people would ask me, "Oh, you're psychic? Well, what number am I thinking of?"
Oh my God.
I would go, red.
Right. It's amazing
So
because I think a lot of the psychics out there are humble. They're you learn pretty much by word of mouth from them. You see
yes,
a lot of the psychics that are out there, they're boastful, they're
yeah, yeah,
arrogant, they think they're better than everybody else and that they know
they
more
do,
than
yeah,
everybody
they do.
else. And I've
Yeah,
met one that was like that, and
yeah.
I'm just like, really? I
I know,
mean,
yeah.
but
And there's so many,
go ahead.
one thing you have to give people, there are so many fakes and frauds and ponies out there.
Yeah.
There's so many con artists out there, and I've had to rescue people from these con artists. And but I tell people, I say, look, just because something can be faked doesn't mean that the real doesn't exist.
Right.
And so, that's what we have to allow for. And I've finally gotten to the point with trying to talk to some of these people, and especially some of the more vociferous people, some of the more volatile people that come at me. I say, look, get my third book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. Sit down with an open mind and do it and be open and receptive and try it long enough, and you'll get results for yourself. And you'll prove to yourself that this stuff is real, that
Yeah.
psychic ability is real, that the paranormal is real. You won't have to take my word for it or somebody else's word for it or Ryan Research Institute for it or Stanford Research. Sit down and do it for yourself. It's possible. You can do it. But, it's amazing the number of people that won't even do that. I
No.
remember, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say no. They don't want to do it themselves. They're
Yeah, yeah,
lazy.
they're lazy. And I remember there was this one podcast that I used to, excuse me, chat in on the
Okay.
sidebar. And they would interview Brandon Fugel's Skinwalker Ranch quite frequently. And people would be just, they're not doing science out there. This isn't real science. They haven't discovered anything and blah, blah, blah. And I would take up a Brandon in the sidebar and I would ask these people, I said, number one, have you ever even watched the show? And a
Right.
lot of these people that were saying these things had not even watched the show. You know, it's like, how can you come to these conclusions without watching the show? And
Right.
then to say that they weren't scientists, they weren't doing real science, go and look up the people that are on the ranch, Eric Bard, Travis, and all these other guys. These guys have, rocket science degrees, nuclear physics degrees. They're
They're
physicists.
brilliant.
They're, yeah, they're scientists. They're this. They have all kinds of degrees. They have all kinds of scientific experience. They're constructing legitimate scientific experiments, and they're getting legitimate results. And it just amazes me how people can say, "Oh, there's nothing going on out there." If you watch one season, you see on camera physical evidence of UFOs, portals, weird, strange creatures, orbs, all kinds of things. It boggles me how people can just refuse to see. But I read something the other day that I'd never read before, and there's a psychological condition that occurs that you impose upon yourself when you say, this does not exist.
Right.
It's impossible. It can't be true. And even if you experience it, if you deny it and hold to that construct that it's impossible, then after a while, even if you continue to see physical evidence of this manifestation, you get yourself into a state where you physically think that you don't see it, you don't perceive it. It just, you literally cannot see
State of
it.
mind.
Yeah, so it's just really bizarre. It's like, and I think a lot of people get that beat into them when they're young, and their parents say, Mama, Granddad came down and sat by me on the bed last night and told me he loved me, and no, Grandpa's dead. There ain't no ghost. Grandpa didn't come and sit by you, and we beat that out of people when they're young to the point when they grow up, they don't want that rebuke. They don't want that sharp skepticism in their life. They don't want to be made fun of. So they just shut down.
Yeah.
They erect this wall to the other side. And a lot of times it takes a lot of effort to get that wall back down.
I think that has a lot to do with a lot of things that I see in children too, because there's a lot of those that are out, like you said. My daughter, for example, and that's the reason I wanted to say something. Because my daughter, for example, when she was young, like 2 or 3 years old, she would say she saw a little boy in the backyard. And he would be by the
Right.
fence. And I'm
Yeah.
like, where? And she would point, and of course, nothing would be there. And I'm like, okay.
That you could see, yeah.
Yeah, that I could see. And
Right.
then, but her grandparents were really, really religious. So every
Mhm.
ghost was a demon. Every angel
Was a
that
demon.
fallen was a demon. Like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, no, that's not the case. If that's the case, then I
Right.
am highly satanic, which I'm not.
Yeah, right.
Because I investigate the paranormal. I look for ghosts.
Right.
I have seen UFOs in the sky. I have yet to
Yep.
go Bigfoot, searching, but that's not out of my wheelhouse yet.
Right.
But I do believe that there's a lot of unknown out there that we don't know that other people have experienced. And just
Absolutely.
because we haven't experienced does not mean it doesn't exist. You can't sit there and
Exactly.
say that murder doesn't go on because I don't see it. Well,
Right.
you
Right.
don't have to physically see it for your eyes. Look at the website. You've got this vast technology in front of you where you
Yep.
can pretty much pull up a camera anywhere now and see
Exactly.
what's
Exactly.
going on in the world, and
Yeah. Yeah.
don't play ignorant or stupid just because you're too lazy to go online and try to find out something for yourself.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's probably a lot of reasons why I get a lot of hitbacks, because I'm blunt. I'm to the point. It's like, you know what? Get your ass together and
It's the
you.
best way to be. It's the best
It
way to be. Just be
is.
blunt, be factual, and be honest.
You
I
don't
mean, the
have to
world has too much.
stress.
Yeah, the world has too much uh, sham and tomfoolery and
Yes.
scams and dogma, tradition, ritual, all this stuff. There's too much of that already, and the world actually craves something real and something honest and
Right.
something direct.
It
And
does.
that's what all my clients over the years have told me they love about me. They say, "Man, I know John's going to give it to me straight. He's
Yep.
going to tell it to me like it is with no frills. He's not going to tell me what I want to hear." And that's what I need in my life.
Yeah.
So that's what it needs.
I've had a lot of friends back off of me on that one. But going back to my
Yep.
daughter, she told me the other day, she goes, Mom, I wish I could see him. He's still here. I
Hmm.
just can't see him. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, maybe one day, baby. But,
Right.
it is
Right.
sad to see, because you know that some kids have had that gift
Yes.
and they've had it pushed back. But with your
Yeah.
book, you want to let everybody know what the name of your book is?
Well, I've got four out. The first one is Writing with Ghosts, Angels, and the Spirits of the Dead. Second book's A Knock in the Attic. Third book's 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. The fourth book, which just came out last year, is The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock. And then this year, late summer, I've got The Cansack Ghost coming out. And then next year, more books to follow. So,
Awesome. Yeah, the 20 ways to improve your psychic abilities is one that if you even think you have an E gift,
yeah.
go look for that
Excuse
book.
me.
No, you're fine.
Yep.
You're fine. Um,
Yeah, get that book and use it. Yeah.
I haven't read it yet, so I can't give you guys any spoilers. I am still trying to read it myself. So if you do read it and you have any comments on it, you can look up John Russell and ask him some questions, or you can go and leave a message on this particular video. But no, I've got it. It's on my agenda. I've got it to read,
There you
and
go.
I'm gonna have it read before the end of the month. Cross
There
your
you go.
fingers.
There you go.
But you've had so many opportunities to read for people. We're gonna go back into your
Yeah.
readings, and
Yeah.
for a variety of clients, you've had
Yeah.
celebrities, you've had just people like me. Could you share a life-changing prediction that you made for someone?
Oh, I'll tell you a real fun one. Um, there was a lady that was handled my credit cards of the credit card company that processed my credit cards, and she called me for a reading. It was the first reading she had ever had in her life, and so I gave her this reading, and she was just like, "Wow!" She said, "You're just blowing my hair back." She said, "This is amazing. It's just incredible." And so we got down to the end of the reading, and I said, "You're going to move." And I said, "It's not really a choice. It's going to be so favorable that you're really going to need to do it. You're really going to kind of want or have to do it. And you're going to move to Nevada, I think Las Vegas." And I said, "You're going to start your own credit card processing company, and you're going to make more money than you've ever made in your life." And she started laughing. She started guffawing. And I said, "What?" She said, "John," she said, "I got to tell you something, man." She said, "Up to now, you have blown my hair back. This has been the most incredible experience I've ever had. You told me things about myself, my family, my life, other people that there's no possible way you could have known naturally." But she said, "Hun," she said, "you missed it here." She said, "I have no intention of moving. I hate Nevada, especially Las Vegas. And as far as starting my own credit card processing company, it would take more connections and more money and everything else than I have access to. And as far as making more than I've ever made in my life," she said, "I'm pretty much topped out at my income level right now." And I said, "Do me a favor, write down what I've told you, and then call me back down the road." So several months went by, and she called me and she said, "John?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I moved to Nevada." She said, I started my own credit card processing company." And she said, I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life."
Maybe she should have just listened to you, huh?
Yeah. And I said, I said, "This is fabulous." But she said, "Wait, that's not the best part." She said, "The best part is I did all this and I totally forgot what you predicted." And she said, "This girlfriend of mine said, 'Didn't that psychic tell you all this was going to happen?' And she was like, 'Oh yeah.'"
That's a dumb moment.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a really funny life changing moment for them,
Oh,
and
very good one for her.
a very good one for her. Very good one for her.
Yes.
And there's been several others throughout the years that have been literally life changing moments for people that I predicted that I saw come about and it happened. And but you get all kinds of funny things like that. You get like she had forgotten what I told her, even though it happened. And then I had this one lady was a friend of the family, and I read for her. And she said, "Oh, will you read for my daughter?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Can I come along? Can I sit in?" And I was doing it in person. And I normally don't read for two people, not even a married couple, because the other side gives me explicit, detailed things, and maybe that's something they don't want the spouse knowing, or the sister, or the mom,
Right.
or whatever. It's like this is between spirit and me and them. And for some reason, I said, "Yeah, okay, go ahead, go ahead, come along with it." And it's a good thing because I was doing the reading for her daughter, and she was interested in this guy. And I said, "Listen," I said, "this guy, you're going to have to understand one thing about this guy. To really have a successful connection, a good relationship with him, he is not an inside guy. He's not a suit and tie type guy. He can never sit behind a desk. He's got to be outdoors, be active, be doing something outdoors." And she looked at me and she goes, "Oh, no, 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 no. That's completely wrong." I said, "What?" She said, "He could never be inside. He could never sit behind a desk. He could never wear a suit and a tie. He's got to be outdoors doing something." And her mother and I both looked at her with our eyes wide and her mouth agape. And her mother said, "Didn't you hear a word he said?" She
No.
said, "What?" She said, "That's what he just told you." She went, "Oh, it is?" And I was like, "Oh my God."
Oh my
So you have all
goodness.
these weird things happen. And what was really funny out of that reading, I made several concrete predictions in the time frames they would occur in, some of them a year ahead.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and I heard back from our friend, and she said, "I told those people what you said, the predictions you made in the time frames." And she said all of them laughed and scoffed, and she said all of them happened in the time frames that you
Oh
predicted, and as you
wow.
said they would. And all of them came back to me and said, "How the hell could he possibly know this? And when can I get a reading with this guy?"
Brings you new clientele all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's all kinds of weird, strange things that happens. I remember this one guy I got, and I started the reading for him, and I said, "Man," I said, "If you have a son?" "Yes." I said, "Is he deceased?" "No." I said, "He's not crossed over. He's not on the other side." "No." I'm like, "Okay." So I tried to go forward in the reading. I kept getting his deceased son. I said, "Is your son living abroad?" And he's like, "No." I said, "I get this vast gulf, this vast distance between you and your son. Your son has not died?" "No." Okay, so we go on in the reading, and I keep going back and asking these questions about his son, and on and on and on. We get to the end of the reading, and I said, "Okay, well, how was the reading?" It was great. I just wish you'd spent more time on trying to connect with my dead son." I'm like, "What?" "What?"
Wait a minute.
I know. And I had another client scheduled I had to get to, so I couldn't go into length as to why he had told me over and over and over that his son wasn't
Oh,
dead
not
when I was saying
dead,
he was.
right?
And that, yeah, so oh, you encounter all kinds of strange things.
Oh my
You encounter all
gosh. Maybe he didn't realize what deceased meant. I don't know. That's weird.
It was strange. It was strange. It was really bizarre.
Somebody in the
Yeah, so
audience asked if you had bad news, do you tell your clients?
if yes, and I do it in the
That
way
was
the other
Julie,
side
by the way. Sorry.
tells me to tell them. The I've had, and I don't give clients my opinion. I don't give clients my viewpoint. I give what the other side gives to me for them, the way they give it to me for them. And so there are clients that the other side will come to me and say, "Tell them their dad's fixing to die and they need to get on the plane and go see him." And I'll go, "Your dad is near death. He's probably going to die soon. You need to hop the plane, go see him." And okay, yeah, I kind of figured that. I'm going to book the ticket today. And then I have other clients that the spirit would say, "Okay, tell them this way. How long's it been since you've been to visit your mom? Is your mom in poor health? Wouldn't it be a good idea maybe if you went and saw her this month?" And then it's kind of like oh yeah, okay, so yeah, bad news does come, but the other side always tells me how to deliver that to a particular client in such a way that they can receive it and it not be like devastating to them, not overwhelm them.
Not everyone of them and have them go into like a emotional
Breakdown. Yeah.
breakdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Man, is that hard for your psyche?
It's not. I've done this for so long that it's just what I do, and it's just
Comes
part of,
natural.
yeah, it's just, look, life isn't always lollipops and roses. Life is rough. Life is difficult. And life is sickness and illness and pain and death, and you have to realize that and you have to deal with that. And if you let the information from the other side of that get to you, then you become ineffective as a channel for that. So you have to just take it as the natural progression of things, the natural part of things, and going from there.
That's an awesome way to look at it. Now, going into the paranormal side of things, which,
Yeah,
being psychic is paranormal, but with
yeah.
over 1,000 paranormal manifestations under your belt, can you recount one of the most profound experiences, aside from the one you said in the beginning, that you had during an investigation? What made it stand out?
Oh, during an investigation.
Yeah.
Um, when I shot the TV pilot for the History Channel, we may have been, this is a bazillion years ago, so we may have been the very first to use FLIR, forward looking infrared radiation cameras, in a paranormal investigation. I don't know that anybody had done it up to then. We may have been the first to have done it. And like I say, unfortunately, the special didn't air, the pilot didn't air. So, but
Aw.
anyways, the FLIR camera, for those that don't know, when it's set in black and white, forward-looking infrared radiation, if a subject is hot, it will show up as white in the camera when you're filming it. And if the subject is cold, it'll show up as black. So we had gone to the Mud Museum where we're investigating the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and I was doing it from a psychic perspective. So we had gone to the Mud Museum and we were there at night, and they had both the regular camera, only the digital camera, and the FLIR camera. And I went into this like a kind of little kitchen area or galley area there or something, and I said, I think the spirit of Mrs. Mudd is here now. And I said, Mrs. Mudd, are you here with us? And I said, she says yes, that she's here. And I said, she's standing off to my right. And the film crew was in front of me filming.
Did they
And I
just do?
said, yeah. And I said, she's walking toward me right now. And I said, I just felt her pass through me. I felt her energy pass through me and come out the
Oh,
other side.
wow.
And when we replayed the camera back, the FLIR camera back, there were black indicating cold. There were black footsteps in women's size period era shoes, footprints walking across the floor toward me and going through me on the camera.
Oh my God. How did this not
Yeah.
air?
Well, there was a lot of things that happened that I think may have derailed it, and there was, I think, some politics involved, and I think some subterfuge involved, and some other
Ah,
things.
gotcha,
But
gotcha.
yeah, it was phenomenal. We captured a lot of amazing phenomena on camera. I psychically discerned things about the assassination that contradicted the accepted history, and through all the research capabilities that they had available to them, they were able to prove that what I said was correct, even though it
Oh,
contradicted the accepted history. So it was pretty phenomenal. But that was one of the most more phenomenal incidents during a paranormal investigation, was to see those black footprints coming toward me when I said
right?
she's walking toward me. Yeah,
Proof
yeah,
that what you were saying was actually something
was
that was
accurate.
real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Wow.
on camera. Yeah,
Amazing.
it's on camera. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Julie asked another question. She says, have you ever had information about someone's death? Did you tell that person?
Sometimes, and it's very convoluted and it's very strange because the other side has their own weird way of doing things. And what I mean by that is, and I've had people ask me, when am I going to die? And I said, do you
Wow.
really want to know that?
Nope.
And they're like, and one person told me yes. And so I said, okay. And I asked the other side, and they showed me, they gave them an approximate date. And they're like, okay, I'm good with that. I'm cool. But the other side works in some really weird ways in that regard. I had this one client that a regular client that I'd had for years and years and years, and she called up for a reading one time, and I was just led by the other side to overabundantly tell her whatever you really love this month, whatever you really enjoy, whatever just cranks your bait and floats your boat, do that to excess this month. If it's going to the movies, go 2, 3 times a week this month. If it's going out to eat, go at least once a week this month, whatever it is, whatever you really enjoy, allow yourself to enjoy those things to the maximum this month. And the other side didn't tell me why they led me to say that to her, but it was just
Let her know.
overemphasize this to her over and over and over and over. And that was the last reading I ever did for her because she died shortly after that. And so that was the other side's way of getting through to her. It's fixing to be over. Go and enjoy it on this plane. till you transition. Now, the other side knew that. They could have told me, hey, John, she's fixing to go over, but they didn't. And in spite of all the ways that they've told me other times to tell people, hey, this is getting near the end here, you need to go see your dad or whatever, they didn't give me that information for her except in that way to, go and enjoy yourself this month. And it was so strange. So I don't know why that comes through, but like I say, they tell me, I relay it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. How sad. Ugh. But going into some of your let's say some of the research that you've done, because you've been involved in various forums, like you were talking about with the
Yeah.
thermal red and stuff, since you were about 11 years old. So how
Yeah.
has your
Yeah.
approach to investigating the supernatural evolved over the decades?
Well, I don't think it's changed a lot. Basically, I go into an area, if I go into research someplace, to investigate someplace, I go in with an attitude of respect. I go in with an attitude of humility, and I go in with the idea that I'm not there for a demonstration. I'm there for a communication, because anybody can set up a REM pod and go make the REM pod go off, and they
Right.
do. And you've had a demonstration that there's someone there and they can utilize their energy to set this device off, but they haven't told you anything. Who are they?
Right.
Why are they there? Are they human? Are they non-human? Are they angelic? Are they a nature spirit? Are they something we don't even know what is? What do they want to communicate? Do they have a
Right.
communication? Do they need something from us? Do we need something from them? So when you go into a place, it's not the demonstration, it's the communication you need. And I always go into a place with that idea in mind, and I go in with respect. I hate, I detest, I despise so-called investigators that go in and curse ghosts and challenge ghosts and stir up a
Right.
bunch of nonsense and carry on a bunch of idiocy. Go in with respect. You have respect for the land. You have respect for the building that's there that you're investigating, because there's sentient energy in that building. There's sentient
Yeah.
energy in that land. You go in with respect for the spirits that abide there. Some of them may choose to stay there. Some of them may come and go. Some of them may pass through. But these are intelligent beings, regardless of what type beings they are. And so you want to respect that. You want to honor that. And you want to go in, you would say, hey, look, I'm here to learn from you. If you've got a message for me that can help me, help somebody else, can tell your story, whatever. And that's the way I approach it. And I very, very seldom use anything at all, not even E.P.P, because I get real time two-way communication with these beings that we can validate. On the paranormal investigations that I've done, I've had people that knew the history of places and the names of those that were involved there and the incidents that were involved there. And I would be able to connect with those things and tell them in real time, hey, this spirit's telling me this, and this happened here on this date and in this place. And then we go, yeah. Or I would get the name of the person that was involved there, and they go, yes, that was the person that lived here during that time frame. So that's nothing much has changed for me, because that's what I've relied on from early on, because it works and it gets the results that everybody needs.
That's how it should be. I mean, we
Yeah.
went to the Missouri State Pen, and the Airbnb we were staying at was haunted.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there playing trivia, and we're like, okay, you know what? We're playing trivia. And Ken, that was with from a muck, he was with us, and he's like,
Right.
I'll be the person that shows your card, so I'll just play for you. And so we would ask the question, and Ken, and you'd hear across the spirit box whatever letter it was saying. So we were actually communicating with the
Right.
spirit, playing a game, and it was
Right.
actually so fun because we caught him cheating. He kept looking over
Yeah.
my shoulder, looking at the answer, and it's like, wait, I haven't even got the question out yet.
Oh, that's great.
You
That's
can't be
great.
cheating like this. You stay on your side. But
Right.
it's
Right.
awesome
Right.
when you can involve them in something like that, and they actually
Yeah.
start communicating and doing things with
Yeah.
you. And even though they can't physically, I mean, some can if they have enough
Yeah. Oh,
energy,
yeah. Can
but
manipulate things. Yeah.
to be
And
able
that's
to
when
do
you
that's
realize
fun.
how closely entwined we are with the spirit realm that's around all of us all the time.
Oh,
And if we can take the time to tune in, to open up, to, and to realize that no, not everything out there is a demon coming to possess you. You're not going to get an attachment. You're not going to use a Ouija board and open a portal to hell.
no.
To realize that all those things are not true and that the spiritual realm is there to help us. I mean, like my guardian angels have literally, physically intervened and saved my life many times, many times. And I tell people, look, this is a realm out there that is it all uh, roses and light? No, probably not. Just like it's not here on Earth. But the overemphasis on the danger of it has led people to fear it and to misunderstand that there's a great deal of help, guidance, protection out there for us if we'll avail ourselves of that. And it's kind of like, if you go looking for a bad time in a bad part of town, eventually you'll find it.
Yep.
But if you are searching in the right places, the right time for the right things, translate that to the spiritual realm, same type of thing. So, and I think a lot of things that people interpret as malevolent or evil or dangerous or whatever, I don't think that's the case. I think we misinterpret a lot of what we experience. And a really good example of that, when I was shooting the TV pilot, I was at this one location, one historic location, and the lady came up to me and she said, "When you get a break in filming, I got to talk to you. This ghost tried to kill me." And I was like, "Oh my
Oh
God,
my
no ghost tried."
lord.
Yeah, no ghost tried to kill you. So we got to the to a break in filming, and I took her into one of the back rooms of the building there, and I said, "Okay, what?" And Spirit had already told me what happened,
Oh, so
so
you already knew.
I already knew. I already knew. I said, "Okay, tell me what happened." She said, "I was standing in my kitchen by the sink washing dishes or whatever." And she said, "This cupboard door across the kitchen, this cupboard door opened by itself. This plate flew out from the stack of plates, flew across the room, hit the wall right by me, and shattered into pieces. This ghost tried to kill me." I said, "The ghost didn't try and kill you. The ghost wasn't even trying to hurt you. If he was, he would have hit you with a damn plate." What the other side has told me is that they have been trying to communicate with you for a long time,
Oh
and you've been
wow.
ignoring it and pushing it away and ignoring it and pushing it away. And finally, their frustration has reached the point that they're like, "You can't pretend this isn't real. Ignore this." Right. And so she got it. She was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I get it." And I said, "Okay, here's how you move forward with this. Here's how you connect with that." But that was her misinterpretation of what was just frustration from the spiritual realm that had been trying to communicate with her, help her and guide her for a long time.
And
And
she
so
just
when she
refused to
finally got
listen.
it, and I always tell people too, I'll say, "Look, if you go, there's, I always misquote this in my interviews. It's either an anglerfish or a lanternfish. I can't remember which. I think it's an anglerfish. Anyway,
Anglerfish, the
there's
one
a
with the little
fish,
light.
yeah, the light, the weird
Yeah.
teeth and all the bug eyes and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like you look at that, "Oh my God, demonic." No, it's just friggin' a friggin' fish. That's all it is. And so there are things out there in the spiritual realm that may not be the 6 foot tall, blue eyed, blonde haired angel. They
Right.
may be the anglerfish of the spiritual realm, but it doesn't mean they're evil or satanic or demonic or malevolent or dangerous. It just means that's the way they're created. That's the way they look. And they may
Yep.
be the thing that comes to you with the message that you need.
Right.
But if you fear, you know, like you say, if the knee jerk reaction is, "Oh, that's demonic," then you're going to miss something that you need in your life. You have to realize not everything looks like we want it to,
Right.
and not every message comes from the channel that we hope that it will or want it to. So the more we can be open and receptive to that, the more help we're going to receive in our lives.
Exactly. Exactly. Going into another angle of the paranormal,
Yeah.
as a UFO experiencer, can you share a particular encounter that changed your perspective on extraterrestrial life?
Oh yeah. I was, I guess, somewhere around 20. And I'd been reading professionally since the age of 18. I had had all these concrete paranormal experiences since I was a kid. Other people witnessed them, friends, family. They actually happened on the physical realm. They were real. I knew they were real. So I could take that to the bank, but I didn't believe in UFOs. And I don't know why. It just, I had read the articles, read the magazines, I'd seen the TV interviews, and it was like, nope, 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 not buying it. Just didn't believe in UFOs. So one day I had been at this place, and like I said, I grew up in West Texas. The weather there is extremely violent. We're at the tip end of Tornado Alley. I'd grown up with horrible thunderstorms, softball size hail, damaging winds, tornadoes. That's the way I had grown up. So I was familiar with all that. And I had come out of this building around 4 in the afternoon. And the first thing that hits me in the face is this blast of wind. And I looked up, and the sky's overcast and the clouds are dark and low. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And my car was parked in this parking lot across the street, and it was a narrow 2-lane street. And from where I stood at that building's entrance and exit, I could look across and see my car in the parking lot. And by my car in the parking lot was this column-shaped cloud that came down and touched the asphalt by my car, and it was attached to the clouds up above.
Huh.
Now, I'd seen tornadoes, I'd seen dust devils and everything else, but this was a perfect column, and it wasn't like swaying back and forth and all this like dust devils and tornadoes do. It was just perfectly straight, perfectly still, except it was rotating. And the weird thing was
Tornado?
no. And the weird thing was there was debris in the parking lot at the base of the cloud, like paper cups, bits of paper, whatever, that should have been rotating or being blown around by this thing, and they were perfectly still. They weren't moving. And then from within the cloud, these orbs that were maybe about the size of a soccer ball, maybe a little larger, they begin to extrude from the cloud outward and then recede back into the cloud and disappear. And they did that all the way up and down the cloud, the whole length of it. And they were fluorescent colors. They were reds and oranges and yellows, greens and blues and purples. And they would come out and recede back in. And they did that all the way around the cloud, all the way at the top and bottom. So I'm looking at this thing and I said, okay, as young as I am and as many experiences as I've had, something snapped. And I'm nuts. I've gone nuts. I'm at a psychotic break. This isn't real. I literally, Shauna, said that to myself. And I said, as soon as I can get straight and get to my car, I'm going to go to the hospital. We had a psychiatric hospital there. I said, I'm going to check myself in, tell them what I saw, and have them check me out.
Oh
This
my
just,
goodness.
this can't be. So then I get this weird, irrational urge, walk toward the cloud. I'm like, what? So I hesitantly take a few steps toward the cloud. It advances toward me in the parking lot. I stop and it stops. I back up, it backs up. I do it again. Here it comes toward me. I stop, it stops. I back up, it backs up. I'm like, okay, I really lost the plot. So
Right?
about this time, I'm standing by the door, and about this time, the door opens, whacks me in the back, and a buddy of mine comes out and goes, "Oh man, sorry, but what are you doing standing so close to the door, anyways?" And before I can even answer, he looks up the sky and he goes, "Oh boy, looks like we're in for it now." And then he looks over in the parking lot and he goes, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "Thank God, I'm not insane. I'm not nuts. It's real. He sees it too." So I said, "Watch this, watch this." And I walk toward the cloud and it advances toward me. I stop and it stops. I back up and it backs up. And I look at him and I go, "Isn't that the
Oh no, what happened?
weirdest thing you've ever seen?" And he's bug eyed. I'm out of here. And he runs down the alley. His car's parked the other way. So he takes off. So now I'm left here with this thing that I know is real, that's
Yeah.
exhibiting this impossible paranormal behavior. And I'm like, what the hell do I do now? And so all of a sudden, it lifts up into the clouds above, and all the clouds start to rush over.
Oh my
And I'm
goodness.
like, okay. So I run toward my car, get in my car, and I'm like, what the hell was that? So I start my car up and I pull out. Now I know this town I grew up in, all areas of this town, like the back of my hand. I still do to this day. So I know exactly where I'm at, where the streets are, where the blocks are, where the intersections are, where the stores are. So this was downtown. And I pull out and I start going down this one street, and it begins to rain. Now, this is not an everything's bigger in Texas story. In West Texas, in 20 minutes, it can flood your yard, flood the streets, flood underpasses. In 20 minutes, it can rain so hard it'll do that. But this rain is unlike anything I have ever experienced in my entire life growing up in Texas. I'm driving down the street. The rain comes down so hard, I turn on my headlights. I turn my wipers on high. They're not even making a dent in the waterfall that's going down my windshield. And the visibility decreases to the point. The rain is so hard that literally the hood of my car, I can see about a foot past the hood of my car.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
visibility. There are cars angle parked over here on the side of the street. I can't even see them. So
Oh
I'm poking along
wow.
in this mess, and I'm like, what in God's name is this? And then I start to panic because I'm like, I'm going to scrape one of these cars over here I can't see. I'm going to hit somebody I can't see. Somebody's going to hit me.
Yep.
And so I'm creeping along like 5 miles an hour in this stuff. And I come up to this street, and I'm trying to look at the street breaks because we had a Sears Roebuck store there on Beauregard Street. Behind it was Two Street, and they had a Sears Automotive there in a great big parking lot and a driveway into that. And I said, okay, if I can make it to Two Street, I'm going to turn. I'm going to find that parking lot into Sears. I'm going to park however I can. I don't care if I get soaked. I'm going to jump out, run into the Sears, go down into the basement, look at the sporting goods till the storm passes, then I'll drive home. So I'm poking along and I'm looking for Two Street, and I nearly run into this car in front of me. My headlights don't pick it up till the bumper is literally about 2 feet away from me.
Oh
And I
my.
jam on my brakes, and then I see this bright flash in my rearview mirror. This car behind me nearly hits me.
Oh my gosh.
So I see this, and I'm like, why is this person stopped here? And I see this little bitty, teeny tiny pinprick of red light way up here, and that's the stoplight. Now you know
Oh
how
my.
bright stoplights are. It looked like a
Yeah.
little. It looked like the head of a pin. This little red head of a pin up here, and I'm like, oh my
Oh
God, that's a stoplight.
wow.
So it changed, and they went on. I turned the corner because I knew it was at Two Street. So I'm poking along, and I've literally, if you look out my driver's side window, I've got about a foot or two of visibility. If you look at the hood of my car, I've got maybe a foot of visibility past the hood of my car. There's cars angle parked over here that are just a few feet away. I can't see them. And I'm like, man, what the hell am I going to do here? So I'm poking along, and I'm leaned over as far as I can. I had bench seats in this old station wagon I had. And I'm leaned over as far as I can, looking at the right, out the passenger window, trying to see, number one, where these parked cars so I don't slide into them and hit them. Number two, where's the brake to go into the Sears parking lot in the rear? And as I'm leaned over that way, now picture this, the rain is coming down so hard. I've got a foot of visibility beyond the hood of my car. Imagine that.
Right.
Beyond the foot of the hood of my car, you see nothing, nothing. Rain and darkness, nothing. In less than a second's time, there's total visibility. The rain doesn't slack. It doesn't gradually stop. It vanishes.
Holy
1 second,
hell.
1 second, I've got like a foot of visibility out of each window. The next second, the rain's gone. It hasn't slacked off, hadn't stopped. It's vanished. It's gone instantly. And it's still overcast, but I've got full visibility all the way in front of me. I can look at my rearview mirror, see all the way behind me. I can see all the way around me, all the cars on both sides of the street. I can see the entrance to the Sears parking lot. I can see the Sears building. I can see the Sears automotive. I can see all the way down the street as far as I want to look. The rain has instantly, literally vanished. There's not a mist hitting my windshield. I reach up
Wow.
and I turn the wipers off, and I'm like, what in God's name is this? And then in the oncoming lane opposite us, people are swerving into our lane and almost hitting cars in our lane. And people are honking and yelling, and they're jumping out of their cars, and they're rolling down their windows, and they're pointing up at the sky, and people are opening their car doors and jumping out into the street. I'm like, what in God's name is going on? And I
Right?
look where they're pointing, and hovering over the Sears building, about 30 feet above the Sears building, is this metallic silver UFO about 30 to 50 feet in diameter, just hovering over the Sears building. And I literally did a cartoon eye rub. I literally did a cartoon eye rub. I'm like, no, And there it is. And I'm like, holy crap.
Oh my
And so here's
gosh.
this daylight sighting in the presence of, God, at least 50 witnesses. And I started to get out of my car to get out and get a better look at it, although I could see it clear as day. And as I reached for my door handle, the UFO just barely perceptibly moved toward us.
Oh
And
my.
as it did, the low clouds came from behind it, swept over it and covered it up. And instantly the rain was back in full force. Didn't start up again. It was just instantly there again with like a foot of visibility like before. And so this guy in front of me, he pulls into the Sears parking lot and I'm on his tail. And I said, I don't care if I hit this guy, the insurance will pay for it. I'm going to talk to this guy because I'm still not believing my own eyes. And I put like 50 witnesses out there and I'm still not believing it. And so we get into the Sears parking lot. We jump out of our cars. He runs in first. The rain is coming down so hard, it hurts. I mean, it doesn't
Oh my
just sting, it's like
gosh.
it's painful, it hurts. And I'm shielding my eyes and I run to the store and we're both sopping wet, like we just came out of
Yeah.
the shower. He's standing there dripping water. And I remember he wore glasses and I didn't at the time. And he's standing there with his head down, his glasses are covered in water, and he's just dripping water like he just came out of the shower. And I walked around in front of him, and it took him a little bit to realize somebody was there. He was just staring at the floor. And finally, he looked up at
Oh.
me and kind of comprehended I was there. And I said, Sir, excuse me. I said, Did you see what I just saw? And he said, Yeah, but I damn sure ain't going to tell nobody. And he
Oh.
sidestepped me and walked off through the store. And
He
you got to
just
remember
told
this.
you.
Yeah, this is back during the day. You just didn't talk about that stuff.
Right?
You know, you'd lose your job, you'd be made fun of, whatever, this and the other. So that was, I couldn't deny it. It was real. I saw it in daylight, up close, with the presence
Yep.
of probably at least 50 witnesses. And it's like, okay, John, you got to change religions because here it is. So that was the thing that flipped it for me.
So you never know. You could be driving down the road and all of a sudden go into rain and it could be a UFO over your head.
It could be, yeah, yeah,
See, my experiences were totally different because where you
yeah,
saw the light and the clouds and the rain, I had seen what looked like stars in the sky. I was only 7 years old at the time, and I just got through watching some kind of unsolved mystery that my dad had watching or something, like talking about UFO abductions.
right,
And
right,
here I am in the backyard, laying on the deck, looking at the stars, just being a kid. And then the star was twinkling, like going in and out. And then it just
yeah,
jetted off to the left, like
right, right,
gone.
yeah.
And that got me, usually kids see that. They're like, okay, whatever. No, I saw that. I went, oh. And I went back
Hello.
inside.
Hello.
And then the next time I saw one was really only like 6 or 7 years ago in
Yeah,
Tulsa. And
yeah,
you know how you see those blue beams in the light, those real big blue spotlights
yeah,
that try to say, "Hey, we're
right,
here."
right,
I thought
yeah,
it was that at first because that's what we saw in the sky. And then
right.
all of a sudden it shot straight up and I went,
Hello.
"That wasn't a beam." I can't tell you what
Yeah,
that was, but it's not a helicopter because they have white lights.
right, right.
And I I just wish I would have had my camera out because I'm just sitting
I
here
know.
going, "What
Yeah,
is that?" And it was in the
yeah,
clouds. It wasn't
yeah,
raining, but
yeah. I've seen several since then. I've had a lot of sightings since then. And I
I wish
don't
I could say
know
I did.
who they are or what they are, and nobody reliable does. You know,
No.
um, we know they're real. We know they're here. We know they've been here probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. But what do they want? And I write in my books. I have all kinds of. I write about my experiences. I write about my theories. We look at these things, and there's people that devolve into this. Oh well, the Space Brothers are here to help us. Well, the evidence is to the contrary, and common sense and reason is to the contrary. And they're like, like UFOs. It's documented now, and this has come out in congressional testimony. There's no denying this. It's documented in at least two cases in the U.S. and several overseas, UFOs have shut down nuclear weapon silos and
Good.
taken the weapons offline where they couldn't launch. Well, we say it's good, but
Right, but
one of the theories, one of the theories of that is, see, the Space Brothers are coming to tell us, stop being violent, stop being a nuclear program, da 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 da. Well, there's two problems with that. In one case, and this is documented, when the UFO left and the missiles came back online, two of them were in launch mode.
ooh,
And the people in the bunker had to stop them, literally manually stop them from launching. Okay.
oh
So
my.
if the Space Brothers are here to watch out for us, they're
Why are they
either
in launch
really
mode?
sloppy or they're trying to cause some shit,
Right?
And
Probably
the
the
second thing
latter.
is, and I write about this um, in in my books. One of the things I write about is, look, if they're wanting to stop us, they had their chance at Trinity. Trinity was our first, atomic explosion, our first atomic test. And since then, and I looked up the statistics for all these. They're in my book. I can't quote them exact to you now. You can read the book and get them exactly. But I looked up everything online, including from the Atomic Energy Commission, military sites, and everything else. We've done way over 1,000 uh, atomic nuclear explosions on this planet. And that doesn't include the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And we've done this since Trinity, which was like, bajillion years ago. So for all these years, if the Space Brothers who love us and care about us have really cared that we stop our nuclear testing, they've had decades to come down and say, folks, we've been observing this a while, and we need to talk to you. We need to tell you, uh, you know, you're destroying your planet here, and you're going to really hurt yourself. That hadn't happened. And for the fact that they would take the nuclear weapons back online, and two of them would be in launch mode, that's a little bit concerning. So
That is
there's a lot
very
of things there
concerning.
that I think we need to be concerned about. There's a lot about this phenomena we don't understand, and there's a lot of just like in the psychic realm with fakes, phonies, and frauds, there's a lot of people in the UFO community that are fakes and phonies and
Oh
frauds.
yeah.
And people will give you all kinds of stupid things and stupid information. And one of the things that has been my benchmark over the years, and people say, well, why do you know it all? Why you get it? Well, here's the simple reason. If it's real and it manifests and it's concrete and it's repeatable and it does some good, that's where I hang my hat. If you've got theories that don't repeat, aren't provable, you can't experience them, I can't experience them, then put them on the back table as a theory and leave it there.
Yeah.
Don't come preaching it as fact to me. It's like one time I remember we had this, we were at a party and this guy told us that he could set ice cream on fire with his mind. And I was like, well, number one, how the friggin' hell do you come up with that in the first place? And number two, I will go buy the pint of ice cream myself, handle it myself, so I know that you don't do any chemical manipulation or anything else to it. And then I'll set it here on the table and you set it on fire with your mind, I'll believe. Well, no, can't do that. Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So, it's like there's a lot of people out there that have all of these theories, all of these ideas, all of these experiences that when you put them in the crucible of the wine press, it doesn't work. It doesn't pan out. So that's been my thing over the years. It's like, okay, when I tell my clients things, I don't tell them in readings like, oh, your health is going to be wonderful. You're going to meet Mr. Right. You're going to be married. You're going to be happy. You have two kids. This wonderful country house. Oh, I see you on these vacations and this little dog. I don't do that BS. I tell people it's like, okay, you should go back to school and get your degree because you're wasting your life right now.
Right.
I give people practical things that the other side gives me for them that they can hang their hats on. And like down the road, these predictions that are accurate and come true, and so on and so forth. So that's been my benchmark in all of this. And that's why I detest these people that get out there and go, I remember this one moment. Oh my God. I wake up, go to the bathroom in the middle of the night while I'm downloads this ancient knowledge into my brain. I'm like, somebody please just give me 2 to the back of the head right now and let it be over with. It's like, my God, are you serious? And there are people out there. This is true. And there are
Oh my
people out
God.
there in the community that will flock to this and follow this. And it's like, oh my God. And then you wonder why we can't get serious research done. It's because
Right?
somebody that has a scientific background and is open to the possibility gets a hold of this woman and goes, oh my God, I ain't getting involved with these nuts, you know. So this is why we have to toe a line. This is why we have to have
Oh,
responsibility. This is why we have to have things that work, you know, and
yeah.
are not pie in the sky by and by type of things. And it's difficult to do this research, as you know, because you can't make an appointment with a UFO. You usually can't make an appointment with a ghost. You kind
Nope.
of take what the other side gives you when they give you. But if you're open, receptive, honest, compassionate, at some point you will be able to make those connections and prove that for yourself. And it's just you have to be very, very careful. I don't think there's so much misleading from the other side as there is misleading from our realm of what we
Right?
imagine or hallucinate or want to be true or wish for, and then we communicate that as a a reality or a doctrine or whatever. And so divest yourself of dogma, tradition, ritual, blah blah blah, and go to the source, go to the other side, and say, okay, here I am. Whether you perceive it as infinite intelligence, spirit, God, whatever, here I am. Talk to me. What am I supposed to be learning? What am I supposed to be doing today? Guide me, teach me, what's the next thing? And learn that from the other side and let it come to you in ways that are real, and then it'll be meaningful for you.
Ah, that's a great way of doing that. Going back
Thank
to
you.
the UFO, I want to say though
Yeah,
is I know how do you integrate or do you integrate any of like your experiences from the UFOs into your psychic reading?
I don't, not at all.
No,
They're two entirely different things, and it's really interesting because I have communicated with nature spirits and other beings
like such
that
as
have told
fairies
me
and
that, yeah, that they're a little bit irked by what the UFOs do here.
oh wow,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. They're like, they're like, oh, your people have been abducted. Well, guess what? They're doing some crap we don't like either. So it's like there's this separation between, now granted, paranormal manifestations like that cloud, which was a
hmm
paranormal manifestation, occur with, around, or concurrent with UFO sightings or whatever, but there seems to be a very sharp dichotomy between just the planet's paranormal experiences, psychic
Right.
experiences, and whatever occurs with the UFOs. And like I say, the spirits have made it plain to me several times that, hey, we don't care for these guys. We wish they'd go elsewhere or do something else. They're kind of disturbing our energy field or our aims and goals and needs and whatever, kind of just disturbing the environment. It's like when you're in a bar, you're having drinks, everybody's laughing, having fun, nobody wants to fight, and then the town bully comes in,
Oh
and the whole
God,
atmosphere changes. It's kind of like that
attention.
feeling with the UFOs. It's like, okay, we're out here doing what we do, and we're created to do what we're doing. We're out here in nature, and everything's running okay, and then here comes this damn UFO. Get out of here! You know? So it's, they've told me that several times. So it's real interesting. It's
That
really
is
strange.
interesting.
Yeah, you know,
Now,
we haven't scratched the surface of our knowledge of this stuff yet, but I
oh
think we're
God,
going to.
no,
I think
not
we're
yet.
going to.
We're
Yeah,
getting into all kinds of different kind of technologies nowadays, especially some of those that are in the paranormal field that
yeah,
are brilliant, are coming up with some pretty good ideas and
yeah,
theories
yeah,
on instruments that they can figure some of this stuff
yeah,
out.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it is very interesting to watch these people develop this stuff and to be on board with some of them as well and see how their
Yeah,
stuff progresses and everything. So
exactly,
I
exactly.
understand exactly where you're coming from on it. Well,
Yeah,
coming back into into your psychic readings,
yeah.
can you kind of discuss the role of intention in psychic readings? Like, how does it influence the accuracy and depth of the insights that you provide?
I don't have any intention when I go in other than to connect with the other side and give the client exactly what they give me the way that they give it to me. And if they have any confusion or understanding as to what I've communicated, then I will explain, okay, here's the tool and here's how you use it. or this is what this means. Or if there's something positive coming, here's how you prepare for it and connect with it. If there's something negative coming, let's see if we can avoid it or negate it or minimize it or whatever. But I have no intentions going into a reading.
That's always good to hear. You hear a lot of people
Yeah,
talk about their intentions, but hearing you say that you don't have any, that's going to
none
be a
at all.
plus in my book.
Yeah, I'm a blank slate. I go in, it's like, okay, here's what the other side's giving me for you. Here's how to use it. You know,
What advice would you give someone who is just beginning in their journey as or is interested in exploring psychic practices?
you know, be healthily skeptical. Be diligent in what you're doing. And please don't be one of these people that goes to the bookstore, buys a book on how to read the tarot, buys a tarot deck, goes home, studies for a month, hangs out a shingle and says, I'm a professional reader now. I'm ready to guide your life. Don't do that. I studied diligently and deeply and long and hard for years before I even gave my first reading. And I read for friends and family and tuned it through that, fine tuned it through that process till I reached the point where people were saying, "Hey, you need to make this available to people. You're good enough that you need to guide people's lives." And then from the age of 18, I'm now 71 for Christ's sake, and during that entire time frame, I have continued to study. I've never rested on my laurels. Nobody masters anything. You have to continue to study. You have to continue to learn. You have to continue to refine. My process to this day is how can I be more accurate? How can I be more connected to the other side? How can I learn more? How can I discern more? How can I understand more? And so you have to understand it's not a quick and easy, it's a lifelong process. It takes study, it takes diligence, it takes, a real commitment to this style of life. And you have to understand that everybody does has a psychic gift, yes, but to a degree. Not everybody's going to attain what I have. It's like the analogy that I give is everybody can learn piano to a degree. Now, I might take piano lessons for 2 years and barely be able to play chopsticks, and some 5-year-old kid over in China is playing Chopin
Right.
flawlessly. Okay, so he has it, I don't. And the
Right.
more he studies and practices, the better he's going to get. The more I study and practice, maybe I can get to the point that I can play a little jazz piece and people don't tear their eyes out. So we have to understand it's the same way in the psychic realm. The psychic realm works like physical gifts do. Some people are born to be sprinters and runners and marathon runners and run 26.2 miles in 2 hours. Um, some people are born to lift enormous amounts of weights. Some people are born to understand mathematics and physics and so on and so forth. So, we can all learn a little math. We can all lift some weights. We can all do some things, but there are going to be some people that excel at those things. And so we have to understand when we go into the study of the psychic realm, the spiritual realm, you're going to have a level that you progress to. And it's going to be self-limiting, and you can't be frustrated by that, because what small amount or what you think is a small amount that you learn or experience or develop may be life-changing for you and for the people around you. So, accept what you get, take what you get, but realize it's a lifelong learning experience. It doesn't always come quick and easy. It takes diligence, it takes commitment, and it takes the willingness to open up and to learn the correct path. And if you're sitting there going, "Oh, Napoleon came to me and told me that Trump's going to end the war, and this, this crow flew over this morning and told me not to eat this certain breakfast cereal, and there's going to be a volcano erupt somewhere on Earth this month."
Oh.
BS, nothing but BS, nothing but nonsense. You're not doing anything, you're not receiving anything but your own ego and your own imagination. You want to get to the point where you can tell somebody, hey, you're going to move to Vegas, you're going to start your own business in this field, you're going to make more money than you ever have, and have it come true. That's what you're
Right.
striving for. If you
Yeah.
can't do that, you don't have business trying to guide people's lives.
Ah, tell it, preach it. Oh my
Yep,
goodness.
yep, yep.
Well, you participated.
Reality.
Right. Some people need a reality check really
They do.
badly.
They do. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you've participated in many public events and conferences. What has been your favorite experience in connecting with a live audience?
Oh, wow. Oh,
I was hoping one of these questions would get you on something.
it did. It did. I kind of have to study on that a little bit. I think one of my favorites, I was invited to do a private presentation for a group of people in Dallas, Texas, back when I lived in Texas. And I was able to give them information that was so evidential and so true and so correct and helpful for them. And not only there was that aspect of it, but again, the physical manifestations that occurred that let people know that, wow, I interacted with this guy or I talked with this guy or after I met with this guy, all these physical manifestations, paranormal manifestations, started occurring in my life. I remember this one couple told me, they said, after we talked to you and went home, things started moving around on our bookshelf by themselves. And I mean, like
Oh,
visibly moving, like 6 inches, books coming out, objects moving visibly, sliding across the shelf, things like that. So, I think that's one of my favorite interactions with people in a setting like that.
oh, nice. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Interaction. I'm a social butterfly, so I love to interact. I like to go to conventions and talk to
Oh yeah,
people.
I do too. I love to interact with people.
Oh
I
my
can't do it
gosh.
much anymore because I'm so stoved up health wise, but I
Yeah.
do love to interact with people. I love to talk with people, and it's always been great to be around people like that and to be able to receive their energy, give them my energy, give them whatever message there is available, and it's a blessing. It's a good thing.
Awesome. Now, what you're currently working on and what can your audience look forward to in your upcoming book, The Crying Tree?
Well, the Crying Tree and the Magic Rock is out now. That's
Okay.
available now.
What's the good one coming up now?
Yeah, the
The
Cansack Ghost is the
Kansas, that
one
one.
coming up next. These are all true paranormal experiences. These are all things I've experienced in my own life, what I've learned from them, what they've taught me, what they can teach you, how they can help you. There's humor in the book. Some of the reviews that readers give me go like, "Oh my God, the paranormal and humor? Yes, please."
I
So
love
there's
doing
some
paranormal and humor.
yeah, there's some humorous things, some related to the paranormal, some not. Um, I'll give you one example. This is just, I love this to this day. I love this. And I write about this in one of my books. There was this buddy of mine when we lived in New York. We were both photographers, and he was a forest ranger for the Black Rock National Forest. And we would go in there and photograph. And it's a huge place and a beautiful place. And we were there one day and we were down by there's all kinds of rivers and lakes and things in there and all kinds of boulders and mountains, and it's just wonderful. And so we were down by one of the lakes photographing, and we heard this noise of a bunch of kids laughing and making noise and carrying on. We looked at each other and was like, oh God, because they're destroying this sanctity, this quiet, this solitude of this forest. And so we both had beards and we both dressed in scruffy old clothes because we're out in the woods. We're going to get dirty. We're going to get messed up. We're going to have, thorns tear our pants or whatever. We're going to get mud on us.
Right.
So we've got old boots on, old jeans on, old sloppy shirts on, and these old caps, and both bearded. And so we would take our if you're going to get a sharp picture, you put your camera on a tripod. That's the first thing you learn as a photographer. And so instead of retracting the legs of the tripods, we would just fold them up, put them up over our shoulders, and carry them like that until we got to where we were going for the next photo shoot. So we went up this hill, and there was a big, long yellow school bus. And what would happen was teachers from New York City would bring kids from the city out on the bus into the forest so they could experience nature and learn from nature. And of course, they're out there all just like this, it's going wild. We looked at each other and rolled our eyes like, oh my God. So there was this little rise going up to the bus, and we're walking up this hill with our tripods up over our shoulders and bearded and scrungy clothes. And we hit the top of this rise, and all of the kids' heads snap toward us like this, and it goes so deadly silent you could have heard a pin drop in the forest. And we're like, what the hell? And we look at each other and we keep walking that way. And this woman, who is her teacher, is literally bent over double, laughing and running toward us. And we're like, oh my God, get out the knife or the gun or something. We're about to be children of the corn here or something. And she comes up and we're like, what the heck? And she goes, and she has to get her breath. She's laughing so hard. She's like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing. I can't tell you, this is the greatest thing. We're like, oh boy, get the knife out. She's a serial killer. And she said, before you guys came up the rise, I was telling the kids that in the woods here, in this forest, there were these two old hermit brothers that lived off by themselves in the woods. And they were a little off, they were a little crazy, and they carried their guns around over their shoulders all the time. And if they saw intruders, they might even kill them and take them back and eat them or something like that. And she says, about this time, here you guys come up with the beards and the scruffy and with the tripods up over your shoulders, so it's from a distance, kind of like, look here, you're carrying rifles. And she said, it could not have been better time. And we laughed. And when we walked past her and walked past the kids, all of them were like just bug-eyed and silent and staring at us like, oh my God. So, you got to have some humor. You got to have some laughter
Oh,
in this
most
world.
definitely.
You got to have some good times.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Best
So
timing ever.
I put some of these funny stories in the books just for a little comic relief, and some of them have spiritual connections or paranormal connections, others don't. It's just kind of remind you to laugh, have fun, loosen up, and just remember we've got to lighten up and not let
Oh
life get us
gosh,
down.
right?
So
Laughter
yeah,
is
so I try and
such
put
the
those
best
in all my
medicine.
books. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like one of the sayings that I have is shining light on the paranormal. And it's not shining light saying it's real or anything. It's the fun, the
Yeah.
laughter, the good
Yeah.
times you have while you're investigating or doing a
Exactly.
podcast
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
anything like that. Because the better the vibes when you go into a place, to me that I've experienced is better the responses that you get.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I love it. Like I was known as I had a nickname at one of the hospitals that I used to go to a lot that they don't do any investigating now, but I would
Yeah.
go in there and the first time I was in there, they called me a freak.
Yeah.
Well, this is an old early 1900s TB hospital. I'm going in with piercings, tattoos, and different color hair. Of course I'm a freak to
Of course I'm
them.
a freak. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the next year that I came in, I was talking. I was like, "Does anybody in here that I've talked to before? Do you know who I am? Do you remember me?" And I heard "freak," and I was like,
Freak.
oh, "It's an endearment now. It's my
Isn't that
endearment to
great?
you."
Isn't
I
that great?
loved it.
Yeah.
I loved
Isn't that
it.
great?
So,
Absolutely.
yep.
Absolutely.
But I thought that was one of the funniest things. Freak is an endearment.
Freak. Oh, you know me. I'm back. Yes. All
Yes, I'm
right.
back. How are you guys doing?
Isn't that great? I
It
think that's
is.
great. Yeah,
It is
that's
so
awesome.
amazing when you can get them to respond like that. But
Absolutely.
finally, I know I've kept you over 32 minutes
Oh, that's
longer than
fine.
normal.
That's fine. I'm enjoying it. It's great.
It has been such an awesome conversation with you. But I do want to know kind of how do you kind of see your future of psychic readings evolving, especially with the rise of technology now?
Well, technology is never going to replace what a psychic does. AI can't replace it. It's funny now to see the number of people that are saying AI hallucinates. It's like they talk about AI writing stuff for them and hallucinating and making up stuff and just inserting this irrelevant, weird stuff. And it's like, we have all of these technologies that are never, ever going to replace what we're able to do as human beings with that spiritual connection with the other side. So, you know, that's never going to be replaced. We can have instruments that help us. And as a matter of fact, one of my predictions for this year was that the possibility for us to develop increasingly effective methods of like E.P.P and things like that are real this year, that there's a real chance that we can advance significantly in technology and electronics and in machines that will enable us to advance in that field. But it's still never going to replace the human spirit, the human psychic gift, the human spirituality, that direct connection with the other side. That's never going to be in danger.
And do you think it's easier to do, or do you think it's kind of better to do a reading in person than over, say, the internet, or do you think it just comes whenever?
Well,
Like,
it
how
doesn't
do they
matter
talk to
because
you?
yeah, it doesn't matter for me because I've read for people, you know, in 40 countries, and
Yeah.
obviously that's over the phone. And there's no such thing as time, space, or distance when you're utilizing a psychic gift, because the connection is instantaneous around the world. So that's never a concern.
Oh, amazing. Oh my gosh, you are such a wonderful human being, and I love
Oh,
having
bless
you
your
on
heart.
my
Thank you.
show.
Thank you.
Don't
Bless your
go
heart.
anywhere. I'm just going to give a closing, and we'll be right back with you, so don't go anywhere. All
All
right,
right.
everybody, say bye to John if you want to get a hold of him. Well, no, before you leave, tell everybody how they can reach you if they want to get a psychic reading or anything.
JohnRussell.net. And if you want to find out about the books, JohnRussellAuthor.com. And my books are available online at all major retailers: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Apple Books, Powell's Books, uh, Target, Walmart. You can order them anywhere online.
Awesome. Thank you. And you
Thank
guys,
you, Donna.
always stay free, stay safe, always do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Next week, we got Jason Faust coming on. You don't know who he is, go to exploringtheparanormalperspective.com. Go look at the event page and read a little bit on him. And if you still don't even know, then just join the show next week and listen in, and you'll find out more. Until next time, see you guys later. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Switch it on and come along. Haunted houses all night long. Gaming streams and ghostly scenes. Just chatting with the in-betweens. IRL, she's on the case. Finding spirits in each place. Every game she plays with flair. G.E.E.K.S, paranormal, she's there. Ghosts and games all night. G.E.E.K.S, paranormal's bright. Just chatting through sunrise. Trying to stream, it's quite a sight. From the haunted house she flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. G.E.E.K.S paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. G.E.E.K.S paranormal's bright. Just chatting through sunrise. Trying to stream, it's quite a sight. From the haunted house she flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. G.E.E.K.S paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. G.E.E.K.S paranormal's bright. Just chatting through sunrise. Trying to stream, it's quite a sight. In the dark she finds the light. Streams so fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight. G.E.E.K.S paranormal shines so bright. In the dark, she finds a light. Streams so fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight. G.E.E.K.S paranormal shines so bright. Ghosts and games all night. G.E.E.K.S paranormal's bright. Just chatting through sunrise. Trying to stream, it's quite a sight. right.